Heat. What is heat? A form of energy in transit or in flow. Now, what do we mean by heating an object? By heating an object, we mean we are transferring energy to that object. There's a misconception behind this word called heat. We can't say statements like the object has heat or the object possesses heat. These statements are wrong. We can say the object has internal energy, but the object cannot store heat. It can have internal energy. Now, what's the difference between a hot object and a cold object? To understand this, we can visualize it as atoms which are present inside a body which is hot have more energy, and hence they will jiggle around more rapidly. They will also collide with each other, right? They're moving faster because they have more energy. Whereas an object which is cold has very less energy, and the atoms inside it are moving very slowly. Now, what happens if you try to bring these two objects in contact? The atoms on the surface of the hotter object are moving rapidly, right? And they will try to hit the atoms on the surface of the colder object, and they will transfer some of the energy, right, the kinetic energy, to the atoms which belongs to the colder body. And this is how the atoms are transferring energy from the hotter body to the colder body, and this transfer of energy goes on. This is how we say that if we try to bring two objects closer and they are at different temperature, energy is getting transferred. As you can see in this diagram, there are two objects A and B, and they are at different temperatures T1 and T2. Now, if T1 is greater than T2, heat flows from A to B, whereas if T1 is less than T2, heat flows from B to A. Now, what are the effects of heating? The first one is that heating causes a rise in temperature. Now, let's see an example. If you take a hot cup of tea and you try to put a spoon into it, what happens? You find that after a few minutes, the spoon becomes hotter. How is it so? The heat from the hot tea is getting transferred into the spoon, and that raises the temperature of the spoon. Now, heating also causes expansion. What does this mean? Now, we know that by heating an object, we are transferring energy to that object. And if the object has more energy now, it'll try to move. The atoms inside it actually will try to move more rapidly, they'll try to collide more, and they will need more space for it, right? And hence they expand. And the third one is heating causes change of state. Now, let's see another example for this. If you take some ice cubes out of the refrigerator and keep it out for some time, what happens? Eventually, that ice melts and turns into water. How is it so? So, that happens because the heat, the energy, it is getting transferred from the environment or the surrounding into the ice, and that changes its state into water. Now, what happens if we try to heat or give more energy to this water, liquid water? This liquid water turns into water vapor, and that's how again the change of state takes place. So, heating also causes change of state. Now, one thing to note down is heat always flows from an object which is at higher temperature, to an object which is at lower temperature. Now, what happens when the temperatures are same? Yeah, there is no heat transfer takes place. and that state is called thermal equilibrium. That means if two objects are in same temperature and if you try to bring them closer in contact, there's no heat transfer taking place, and the objects are said to be at thermal equilibrium. That's all for this video. We'll try to understand more about heat in our coming videos.